Hey, I'm Nate.
And I'm Noah.
And we're Sleeping Lion. So people ask how we came up with the name with Sleeping Lion. I'd made a lot of films in high school, and the first film I ever made was a film called Slow Down. And my best friend, whose last name meant lion in Italian, the first shot of the film, he's asleep on the desk. So when I had to name my company, my production, so Blank Blank Films, it was a Sleeping Lion film. So we figured our working title was Sleeping Lion.
For this overarching company kind of idea.
Yeah.
Before the band got started.
And I thought he hated the name.
Mm-hmm. And I thought, he was just this is a temporary title until we find something better. But I really liked the name.
And I did too. And so at one point we just started this realization. We're oh, so what should we call it? And you're like,
I like sleeping. Can I make a confession? I like Sleeping Lion.
I'm like, wait, you like Sleeping Lion?
Yeah.
I do too. Okay, cool. We're good. Hey,
yeah.
Let's keep that. So yeah, that's how the name more or less came to be.
Yeah.
Here's my fourth one. It's been a fortnight. I need some more thought. Move the bed from your room. Paint your walls and they're yelling at you to be cool with it all. Oh, were your parents once? Oh, it could have been wrong. At least my brothers know. To think straight. My demon is a patient creature. He bides his time while he feeds on what I feed him and tells me I'm alright. No, I think you liked me once. Oh, it could have been a rock. At least my body's numb. At least my body's numb. Oh, we're waking up while the life is long.
So when I moved into my dorm room at Berkeley, I left a copy of Infinite Jest on my bed, and his mother was helping him move in, and she saw Infinite Jest on my bed in my dorm room, and ran to Nate and said, because Nate just finished reading Infinite Jest, and she was like, "Oh, Nate, you should be friends with this kid." Then I was sitting in my dorm room, and then Nate shows up, And like he knocks on my door and I open the door. He says, "Are you the kid who's reading Infinite Jest?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Nate Flax, nice to meet you." He's like, "You should come by my dorm and we can talk about it." I'm like, "Cool." And I thought that he was like inviting me to his dorm, and I like started walking out. I was like, "No, not right now. I got places to be." So my first impression of him was that he was just like
Places to be.
He was places to be all
A
the
bit
time.
aloof.
But he didn't actually he didn't remember the first couple of times that we met because he was organizing a tour through all of his first semester at Berkeley.
I don't think there was a conversation at that time that I had with anybody that wasn't like tour related. I was in this folk band. The folk group went on tour, and then but the band that I had for it was really solely for that tour. So when I got back, I was looking for other people to play with.
He brought me on as a drummer, of all things.
You said I guess you said you played.
I guess I said I played
yeah.
drums. I'm mostly a piano player, but I was playing the cajon in this folk band for.
Then Halsey played at the Middle East downstairs. I didn't know her at the time, but the girl I was dating did. And she went to see Halsey, and I went to meet up with her afterwards. And I wound up talking to this girl with blue hair, and I wasn't entirely sure who she was. And then my girlfriend at the time comes along, and it's like, "Oh my God, you're Halsey." But we had already started talking about like the New York open mic scene, and she was giving me amazing advice about like how to break into the music industry. And I'm like trying to apply it to folk music, and I'm struggling to figure that out. And so I walk back to the dorm, my brain like exploding with like ideas and strategies and everything that doesn't quite gel with the sound that I have. And I hear him making like a groove.
Because I was independently starting to experiment with electronic music myself, also similarly being frustrated with folk music.
Anyway, I hear him working on this groove. Everything kind of clicks in my head, and I like burst into his room. I'm like, "We're in the wrong band." And he looks at me, he's like, "It's your band." So at that point, we like decided to buckle down, make electronic music. Actually, I think our first co-write was on "You Made Me."
Yeah.
And "You Made Me" was really the experiment in like, can we pull off this electronic thing, while also sort of remaining true to the creative decisions that we like. What sort of brought it and like gelled it all together was kind of the independence of both of us. Like he was working on production ideas and getting things together so that he was starting to hone his sound, and I. Like, for example, the first lines, like, "You made me love the sound of cars." I remember, because I'm from a really quiet suburb, I remember when I first moved to Boston, I, like, hated the traffic sounds outside. But I was seeing somebody at the time who, whenever she would come over, she would listen and, like, just kind of, like loved that kind of thing. And I sort of realized that through that, I started to like it.
"You Made Me" was the first thing I ever tried to make that was an electronic song.
Yeah.
So it was really just like, you know, like let's try this synthesizer sound, and like let's take this violin sample and chop it up. But it was, I don't know. It's very difficult when like your first experiment in something ends up being something that you release.
I mean, now "You Made Me" has like over 100,000 streams and whatnot, and that was the track that kind of got us like the first sort of bit of attention. "You Made Me" tells the story of the people that like affect what you like and what you love, and so the idea of "You made me" is like, oh, you made me who I am, but also like
You made me.
stay.
You
like,
made me stay.
Yeah, you. So that's the story.
You made me love the sound of cars, the frozen heart. You made me love the things I love. Wait till the morning that kept me, the morning that made me wrong. You made me love. You made me stay. You made me love. You made me. Be awful if you let me. I could travel for miles and never stay still. Could burn every bridge that you begged me to build. Sometimes I think I will. I could be awful if you let me. I could travel for miles and never stay still. Could burn every bridge that you begged me to build. Sometimes I think I will. I could be awful if you let me. I could travel for miles, never stay still. But burn every bridge that you begged me to build. Sometimes I think I could be awful if you let me. I could travel for miles, never stay still. But burn every bridge that you begged me to build. Sometimes I think I will.
The patient creature, the actual phrase comes from the second verse of Rug, which is, the lyric is, "My demon is a patient creature, it bides its time while it feeds on what I feed it and tells me I'm all right." It's depression. It's the sort of little thing in the back of your head that like isn't, actively, being cruel or, malicious. But I think a big thing about Patient Creature was that it was meant to kind of reflect a kind of like philosophy of coming to terms with the bad things that happen in your life and sort of recognizing your own responsibility in them as well. Specifically, it personally dove between a relationship that had just ended relatively poorly for me, and that sort of coincided with my folks splitting at the same time. But sort of overarching, it could be taken in a positive light, which is that if you're patient, the ending of Rug is, we're waking up, brother, life is long. Like life is long enough to, turn itself around. Life is long enough to, get over things and learn things and grow and be okay, even if it doesn't necessarily feel it. So for me, the patient creature, it was sort of this, like the thing in my head that's negative and malicious and dangerous and dark, that kind of like eats at you. But it's also it could be you. It could be that you are patient enough to get through it.
Wrap me up in your compulsions. I swear they got the coolest texture. Something like skin and technicolor. Tell me that you see forever. I'm hanging on to every fixture of how I thought you'd always see. And do you love me? Or you just generous? And do you love me? Or you just being generous? Tracing words along my backbone, more poetry than prose, breathless and I miss the way your knees look bruised when I slipped out of my suit, knowing I would follow you. And do you love me? Are you just generous? And do you love me? Are you just being generous? Do you love me? Are you just generous? And do you love me? Or are you just being generous?